Good evening. It's time for the Iman Report. It is Sunday, August 8th, and it's time to preview the AFC South. This will probably be one of the more weaker divisions, per se, in the NFL this year, but it should be a fun division with new coaches coming in, maybe a quarterback getting traded, injuries. Let's break it down who I think is going to win the AFC South. I'll go, of course, from last to first. Last place, the Houston Texans. It's not a matter of if, but when Deshaun Watson's either traded or what's maybe looking less likely, the commissioner's exempt list. Chances are, opening day, it's going to be maybe Tyrod Taylor. Maybe Jalen Hurts if he's packaged in a potential trade to Philadelphia. The Eagles are looking at acquiring Deshaun Watson, but we'll see if that gains any traction as we get further into the preseason or not. And does Deshaun Watson play this preseason? That's another question. But David Culley, they're going for a tank job. They're going to be looking for a top quarterback in the 2022 draft. There's Spencer Rattler out there. There's Sam Howell. There's Kadion Slovis. Pretty deep class of quarterbacks possibly coming out in 2022. So not the worst year to tank. And David Culley, he's just pretty much here for the tank job. He's just an interim coach. But Houston, they've become I don't know what Cal and Janice McNair are doing. They have become a very dysfunctional franchise. They may not win a game this year. It's a real possibility they go 0-17. Ceiling, probably 4 wins, 5 wins. I'm probably going to say something about 2 wins. I think they're going to go 2-15 this year. That's where I've got Houston this year. They're pretty much going to be near the top of the draft next year for a quarterback. That's where I've got Houston. Third place, the Jacksonville Jaguars. This team's going to be better than they were last year. They've just given the fact they now have Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. You've got Rondale Moore. You've got Christian Barmore. And Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer could be another Steve Spurrier. He could be another Jim Harbaugh. You never know what you're going to get with college coaches. Of course, Pete Carroll, who's been both successful in the NFL and college. Jim Harbaugh. But you go with Nick Saban. Nick Saban was a guy who's a great college coach, but he never worked out in the NFL. So it could be either extreme for Urban Meyer. But this is going to be a fun team this year. Wins are not going to be easy to come by this year in Jacksonville. But I do think it's going to be a bright future for Jacksonville. They're going to be better than what they were last year. 7 wins is what their ceiling is. Floor, I kind of think 3 wins. I'm going to probably say something about 6 and 11s where I've got Jacksonville this year. This will likely be a Jacksonville team that will finish with 6 wins, but will be trending in the right direction. Second place. Originally, I had this team winning, but after an injury, I'm putting them in second place now. The Indianapolis Colts. And this is just more on the fact I'm not confident that Carson Wentz comes back this year. Wentz, injury prone, as we know. If Wentz comes back, maybe he has a bit of a revival in Houston. In Indy. But you do have Jacob Eason. We're going to find out a lot about Jacob Eason and Sam Ehlinger in preseason. Who can win the starting job until Carson Wentz comes back. Eason does have a year of experience with the team. He was the third-string quarterback. This is his second year in the NFL. Coming from the University of Washington, Eason could be can Eason be a game manager? That's the question. the best case scenario is Eason does good enough to be a game manager and Houston treads water until Carson Wentz comes back. They definitely have a good run game. They definitely have a good run game in Indianapolis. So they could have Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack definitely getting a lot of the reps. Taylor and Mack could definitely tread water and help Jacob Eason play decent quarterback while Carson Wentz is recovering from injury. And you got Frank Reich. Frank Reich, a great offensive mind. You've got Chris Ballard, a great GM. And of course, the Colts have a great defense. Dean Eberflus, a very good defensive coordinator. So no, by no means this team is not finished without Carson Wentz. They're still going to contend for a playoff spot. The division might just get a little bit more difficult though. If Ellinger and Eason both struggle, they don't need to trade for Nick Foles. No. Chances are Nick Foles will get to Chicago late at some point here. But at some point, I do think Chicago, I don't know if Foles is going to be on the roster come week 1. They could wait. They could see if Chicago cuts Foles, let him clear waivers, and then you can sign Foles for cheap. Or you could bring in, say, if you need a veteran, they did bring in Brett Hundley. I don't know if he's an NFL caliber quarterback, though. He might be a practice squad quarterback. But there's other options out there. There's RG3. There's Matt Barkley. You can see what other quarterbacks get cut as we get further into the preseason. So I think the Colts are being smart. They're being wise, keeping their options open. Chances are I think it will be Jacob Eason week 1. And I think Eason will probably be able to hold down the job until Carson Wentz comes back. And in first place, the Tennessee Titans. I first will never underestimate the coaching of Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel is a very good coach. You got King Henry who can run up and down the field all day and all night. Question is, how do they handle the new offensive coordinator over there in Tennessee? Todd Downing takes over for Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator, so there could be a little turbulence. Maybe we have a little bit of a regression for a little bit from Ryan Tannehill. So those things are possibilities. Hopefully not. The bigger question mark is defense. Last year, the Titans' defense was bad. The defense has to tackle this year. But we will see. But I think, though, with the injuries of Indianapolis, it opens the door for Tennessee to win the division. I expect Tennessee to remain competitive. But we'll see how much of a drop-off we get from Arthur Smith to Todd Downing. But I will never underestimate Mike Vrabel. Vrabel's a very good coach. And I expect the Titans to be back in contention. That's what I've got for the AFC South. At some point next, we will preview. Next up will be the AFC West. Everybody have a good night.